So I finally got around and playing through Claws of Awaji, the story expansion for an Assassin's Creed Shadows. And after 6 months of waiting, the big question is simple. Does this fix the story? Well, the short answer, it finished the story, the base game that's just left it hanging, but it doesn't fix the deeper problems that the game has. The DLC gives you the ending and just the main game kind of felt like it skipped, but most of the issues that made Shadows feel incomplete are still unfortunately there. Claws of Awaji drops you in the Awaji Island, a new region that looks small on the map, but it's actually larger and better designed than you might even expect. The island has dense jungle paths and more environmental details, and lots of traps or routes that force you to think about how you move through the world. The small design shift, making exploration feel risky instead of safe, helps the expansion quite a lot, I believe so. The new area is one of the strongest reasons to play this DLC. The expansion adds a new weapon for ZDEyE, it's the bow staff. It's not just a cosmetic extra, it actually changes some of the takedown animations and gives you different stances to play with, which makes combat feel a bit fresher. Also, two quality of life upgrades from the recent patches, like the ability to fast forward time, are available in the base game as well. And those changes matter because how missions were previously made annoying but long, dark nights. You know, those little fixes help, but they're still not enough to hide the bigger at least, flaws. Now, Ubisoft lists Claws of Awaji as an offering about 10 plus hours of content, but real player data and achievement tracker puts the honest completionist time closer to 8 to 10 hours mark if you actually going for everything. So if you finished it faster than an official estimate, you're not alone, beating the main content in under 10 hours. And if you didn't pre-order Shadows, the expansion is sold separately for about $25, which is the price point many players are debating given the runtime and what the DLC actually adds. What Claws does well is pretty clear. The expansion ties up the lingering threads from the base game and gives more presence to the main villain in a way that the original release did not. The arc of the ZDEyE has stronger beats here. There are moments that finally feel like the ending the game needed. The island itself is satisfyingly crafted, lots of vertical stealth opportunities, castle layouts that reward careful planning, and a few encounters that feel genuinely tense and memorable. Some encounters even capture the slow, patient tension that made older stealth games so gripping. But a lot of the things that annoy players in the main game are still unfortunately present. The cutscenes, the facial animations remain stiff and robotic, emotional beats that shoot land, just like awkward reunions or confessions, are undermined by poor animation and rushed delivery. Voice work in English version still feels uneven. Important scenes often fail because of the acting and the animations don't match the writing. Now, those productions problems kill emotional payoffs more than just any single gameplay flaw. Design choices also undercut the expansion. You're hunting 4 main targets, and those encounters can be interesting when they get the time to breathe. But the DLC pads itself with a bunch of throwaway targets, 14 extra captains you must hunt down before reaching the main fights, who exist purely to stretch the playtime. They respawn in the same handful of spots, and the work you do to kill them is same over and over. Fast travel, clear, repeat. That just feels like an artificial length rather than a meaningful content. The main targets are set up well, but the filler kills the pacing and makes the final act feel rushed, not earned. This cheap padding is a real disappointment. Another persistent issue is the game's non-linear structure. You can tackle the main targets in any order, which sounds good in theory, but the world rarely reacts to your choices. Kill one target and others act as if nothing changed. There's no gradual escalation or changed behavior, no ripple effects that make your progress feel consequential. You still get freedom of approach, but a narrative violence remains disconnected. The game hints at the system that could make targets feel alive and adaptive, but it never follows through. That's a missed design opportunity. Mechanically, parkour has small improvements and traversal feels slightly better than the launch week's builds, but there are no major new movement tools in Awaji. The character switching mechanics, moving between ZDEyE and Yaosuke, remains clunky and immersion breaking for many of the players. And the expansion includes one quest where both characters share a scene, but it's brief and doesn't address the deeper problem. Switching often feels like a toggling between two unrelated toys instead of playing a single coherent team. The game needed a more integrated mission that forced real cooperation between the two leads. This DLC doesn't deliver that. Side content is almost identical to the base game. ZDEyE missions get kinda tweaked, now you draw environments instead of the animals, but players' input is still minimal. It's not a meaningful change. There are no new mini games or fresh activity types, which makes the island feel smaller than it should. If you're hoping for new systems or memorable side quests, Awaji unfortunately will definitely not satisfy you. Finally, it's worth noting that DLC launch wasn't smooth for everyone. Players reported a review coverage show a mixed launch with bugs, crashes and technical issues for some users, especially on PC. That reception has tempered that enthusiasm and given the expansion a rougher first impression than the content alone might have earned. Well, honestly, I did not had so many issues, but still, I only played this DLC a few months after its release. So I can't really argue in terms of the technicality of its instability or whatnot, because I did not really have too many issues on that front. So where does this leave us? Close of Awaji is the ending that Shadows should have shipped with. It gives closure, more time with the characters, and a gorgeous island that's just as fun to explore for a handful of hours. But it's not the fix that many hoped for. The expansion leaves the same core problems in place: clunky animations, questionable pacing, shadow side content, and design choices that just pad playtime rather than enriching it. If you love the base game's stealth feel and world, you'll probably enjoy Awaji and its finishing beats. If you were hoping the DLC would reinvent the game or correct fundamental design and narrative mistakes, you'll likely walk away quite disappointed. For viewers deciding whether to get into this DLC, at around $25 for players who didn't even pre-order this DLC it's just not a great value. And if your main interest is story closure and one new area to explore, man, I would even argue and suggest just watch it online, on YouTube or something, and see how the closure happens. Because there's nothing new here that it will kind of incentivize you purchasing for that $25 price tag. But of course, it's a different story if you pre-order the game and you already have the DLC for free. In that case, sure, give it a shot, try it out, see what you liked about this or not. But here's the question: have you liked Assassin's Creed Shadows? If not, this is more of the same. If you did not like Assassin's Creed Shadows, you will not like this DLC. But if you did somewhat like Assassin's Creed Shadows, yeah, then in that case, give it a shot, play it. I think you'll like it because it will be more of the same. That's all I got for today, guys. Do let me know down in the comments as well what you think about this DLC for an Assassin's Creed Shadows. Were you just a bit disappointed as I was? Because I feel like 6 months after the launch of the game and finally getting this DLC that was supposed to come earlier, at least presumably so, I feel like this is just not enough. It's a little too late sort of approach. Well, anyway, tell me down in the comments as well. I like to read it, and thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all later.